everyone, it's James, Fit RV, and it kind of seems like I do a lot of mods, but you gotta cut me some slack. We just got a new RV this year, and it's kind of like getting a new house. You know, there's a bunch of stuff you want to do to it. Well, normally when I do mods, I do them in my modestly equipped shop, and I've got plenty of tools here to do them with. But when I'm on the road, obviously I'm not taking a bandsaw with me, right? So I thought I would use this opportunity to kind of go through, and this is also, since I bought a new RV, it's a good time to go through my RV toolkit. Now, I did a video on this a few years ago, but we've changed RVs, we've changed technologies that we're using, so probably due for an update. So we'll go outside, we'll get the tools in, maybe I'll make some changes, put in some new stuff, take out some old stuff, we'll see. Anyway, this video is brought to you by the folks at Camping World, where you can get some of the items that you might put in your RV toolkit, as well as any of the supplies you might need for whatever RV project you got going on. And with that, let's head outside and grab the tools. So now in number one, we keep the tools in this compartment here. And this is one of the great joys we've experienced since moving from a Class B to a Class C is exterior storage. Love it. So now the tools I keep in these small boxes rather than one giant. The doorway to this thing is pretty small, and so it would be hard to get a giant toolbox in and out of there. So I found these. They're smaller toolboxes, and I've actually got 5 of them that I keep tools in. So we're going to bring all these inside. They lock together, you know, so you can carry them like that. It's kind of cool. I'm going to bring all these inside, as well as some of this stuff, which isn't maybe exactly tools, but there's stuff in here that's kind of tool kitty, so we'll bring that in as well. All right, this is all just sewage treatment stuff and whatever, and I'm going to leave. We have a Viair toolkit. We have the RV 400 air compressor for inflating the tires, so I'm going to leave that in here. Just know that we have the Viair. All right, let's head into the shop. Okay, so 5 different boxes, but you know, like anything, 80% of the time you only need like 20% of the tools, kind of a thing. And so I've got this one. I've labeled the boxes. My OCD is showing. This one I've labeled first box because I intend for this to be the first box I should grab because more than likely this has got what I need in it. So let's see what we got. All right, first, although this isn't used very frequently, we have a very small saw, a hand saw. There are little blades in here, like a jigsaw blade, so I can saw things if I need to. Like if I ever needed to cut something and I didn't have a tool for it, we have that small saw. We have pliers, or as a lot of people call them, bolt rounders. We have a pair of linesman pliers and a pair of needle nose pliers. We've got hex wrenches. So these would be both standard and metric. And that's the thing about RVs, and you'll see this throughout the toolkit, is standard or metric, well, you really kind of need both these days. A lot of the vehicles that RVs are based on, they're sort of world vehicles, and so a lot of the fittings are metric, but a lot of the RV stuff you'll be working with is standard, so you kind of need both. There is a tape measure, but honestly, I need this so often, I'm going to take this out of the toolkit and put it in the glove box inside the RV. So that one goes away. We have a small little vice grip type tool or a professional strength bolt rounder. An adjustable wrench, like a monkey wrench kind of thing. Putty knife for scraping anything like a sealant or something. We have a screwdriver. I like this one. It came as part of a kit. This is a little ratcheting screwdriver, so you don't have to, you know, take your hand off. And then a bunch of bits for it. Now, a word about the bits. It is a good idea, especially these days, if you also carry Torx bits. And this one has T15 and T20 that I'm carrying with because there are a number of fittings on modern vehicles that require Torx heads in order to loosen them. I have a very small screwdriver. I have a nail, a single nail. Not that I'm going to really be nailing anything while we're out on the road, but I have a nail if I need to puncture a seal on a tube of something or whatever. There's a nail. Sometimes you need something pokey. I have a scraper and extra razor blades. And then I've got Teflon tape and this sort of silicone sealing tape that you can use to seal things that are leaking. You just kind of wrap it around, it grabs to itself and seals leaks that way. So that's kind of what I expect. If I had to take only one box out of all this stuff with me, if that's all the room I had for tools, these are the items I would take. I think they could probably get me through most everyday kind of things that happen out on the road. Let me put these back, we'll go on to the next box. Okay, this next box I've labeled electrical. There's some electrical stuff in here, I'm gonna guess. Okay, so we have, well, the very first thing we'll talk about is this guy. This is a little multimeter. Now, I have a multimeter here in the shop that's like got the clamp on ammeter and that sort of thing, but I don't find that I'm really needing that to diagnose a temporary problem while we're out on the road. So just a small multimeter, just enough to let me know if I've got voltage or if I've got connectivity, that sort of thing. It's pretty much all I need in that department. I have some electrical tape. I have some butt splice connectors in 3 different sizes. So the yellow, the blue, and the red. Now, I have something else that I like to use when I'm working in a protected area to make connections, and I'll show you that when we get to another box. But I do have these because if you're making a wiring connection that's like outside the vehicle, like, you know, to connect up a trailer light or a tail light or something like that, you're gonna want something, and these have the heat shrink tubing on them so that you can make it more or less waterproof. Now, you'll need something to cut wire, strip wire, and to crimp those connectors, and all of those are in this one handy tool. I have wire nuts. Whoa. I have wire nuts. These are one that's clearly going away. I don't use wire nuts anymore, and I'll show you what I use. It's the same thing I use for that. I'll show you what I use for that when I get to it. Now, I do have a little piece of wire, and this is just a 14 gauge wire, just about 3 feet. It's black if I ever need to splice something in. If you're gonna carry some wire, it's a good idea to get something that's at least 14 gauge because, you know, that'll handle 15 amps, and that's most of your common circuits in your RV, the 12 volt side. You could take something thicker, but a lot of times that's overkill and it's harder to work with and more expensive. So also, it's a really good idea. Lately I've been using tinned wire, which is something that resists corrosion a little bit better. It's still copper, but the copper is tinned, all the strands of copper. So I'll put a link to some of that tinned wire in the description. I have a brass brush for cleaning off connections, that sort of thing, cleaning away corrosion. And then I've got some Romex, and this would handle 20 amps, but this is the same piece of Romex I put in the DOS Bus Toolkit about 12 years ago, which tells me I don't need that. So we won't be carrying the Romex anymore either. So very few electrical tools, but here they are. Okay, the next box, and this one's a little heavy, is wrenches and sockets. And this is where I suppose I should probably tell you about. You need to be careful with your toolkit because if there's one place where the weight can add up pretty quickly, it's with tools. And the heft of this box just sort of made me realize that I got some metal here that kind of weighs a bit. So what I have in here, I have combination wrenches, both standard and metric. And then I have a basic set of sockets, again, both standard and metric. And we already went through why you would need both standard and metric. I have this stubby handled wrench. And yeah, those are wrenches, basically. Everybody knows what wrenches are. So that's one box. And then the next box I'm debating just not taking this one at all. And this is basically just a small cordless drill and driver, right? And that's really all that's in here. There's a drill and some drill bits. Now, I'm debating taking it because I can almost do everything I can with this with just, you know, a hand screwdriver, right? Because most of the time that's what you do with these. But I bought this. I know I bought this while we were out on an RV trip. So clearly there was some time when we were out in the RV when I very much needed this. So I can't decide if I should retain this or not. It's a few pounds, it's a little space. And the one capability that I don't have with that is the ability to drill a hole. So for right now, I'm keeping it, but that one's a question mark. And again, if you've seen any of my other videos, back to the wrenches here, the answer to what size wrench does it take is all of them, all of them. you always pick the wrong wrench the first time, so just bring them all. Okay, and this last little box is small parts and fuses. Kind of self-explanatory, but I have things in here like hose clamps. I have random sheet metal screws and wood screws in various sizes and configurations. I have washers. I have machine screws, bolts, nuts, etc. Now, I do have these. This is what I said before with the electrical, and I said I don't like to make connections that way. I like to use something else. This is the something else. These are Waygo connectors, right? And they are kind of like lever nuts is what they call them, I think. And basically you put wires in there, you lift these levers, you put the wires in there, and then you clamp the levers back down and they connect. And you can remove the wires later if you need to, whatever. Super easy, foolproof, and I love using them. So I have some here, they have some with just 2 wires, like if you needed to splice something, or 3 if you needed to splice something into another set of wires. So I keep a few of those on hand. Now I also we have some M8 stainless bolts because that's the size of all the bolts in my giant electrical panel. I have some compression sleeves for plumbing fitting, and then fuses. I've got just, it feels like this is money, but I have a variety of standard automotive fuses, and then since our electrical system relies on some pretty significant mega fuses, I've got these mega fuses, and I've got a backup fuse for each of the fuses that we have in the RV so that if something happens, we're not dead in the water. So I have a bunch of these mega fuses, and they're in there as well. So that's the box of small parts and fuses. Okay, now I mentioned outside we have the Viair air compressor to inflate our tires in the RV. I can inflate the tires with a bicycle pump, and we've almost always got a bicycle pump. And let me tell you, you haven't lived until you've tried to inflate an RV tire with a bicycle pump by hand. That is something. Anyway, now we have the air compressor, but I had trouble fitting it actually into that compartment in this bag, so I put it in separately and I have the bag. And there are a couple other things in here to note. Gloves, if you don't have them with you, you'll come across sometime when you want them. Always bring gloves. Same with rags, plenty of rags. And then besides the fittings for the air compressor, the other thing I've got in here is a tire plug kit. Now, this is something that we actually carry instead of a spare tire. So this is what we would use to plug any holes we got in a tire out on the road rather than replacing the whole tire. So that's that box, or that bag. Now we've got a few other things in here. We've got this, Dynamat. So I like this stuff because sometimes you'll get a rattle, and all it takes to get rid of the rattle is adding a bit of mass to the back of something to make it be a little bit quieter. But this is another thing that I've been carrying this same sheet of Dynamat around for quite a while and haven't used it. I'm going to keep it, I'm not going to throw it away, but I'm just going to keep that at home from now on. So bye-bye Dynamat. Duct tape. Of course, you knew it had to be in here somewhere, right? I'm actually not much of a duct tape guy when it comes to fixing stuff because, you know, hello, giant shop. But you never know. There are some times when you need duct tape on the road and really just nothing else is going to work. So duct tape. More rags. I've got, very important, a tube of silicone. It would be better, quite honestly, if I could carry tubes of appropriate RV sealants and that sort of thing, but then you got to bring like a caulk gun because those only come in big tubes. This is just to get me by if I run into some sort of an emergency. Because really what you should do is you should inspect your sealants before you head out on a trip to make sure you won't have any leaks. Then you don't really need this. This is just in case. So there's that. And the other thing is RV sealants, they're easy to find on the road. You can go in any Camping World store and you can pick up whatever you need. Sikaflex, it's all there. The other thing I've got here is I've got zip ties. These are kind of interesting zip ties. They have a little bit of metal in them so that you can just twist it when you're done and it breaks off the excess so you don't have like zip tie hair hanging around. Zip ties, some two-sided Velcro stuff. This is more just utility kind of stuff. Some Velcro, some bungee cords, a shovel, some straps. This is basic just kind of camping stuff. I don't really consider these tools, and that's going to be it. Now there's one thing I've decided to add to the kit, and that is a bit of this. This is Eternabond tape. It's the one-sided tape. It's got a white UV resistant on one side and the sealant on the other. Never brought this in the previous RV because it was a van. We had a metal roof. Well, now in our Class C, we have a roof that's got sealant around the edges and stuff. And in a really bad pinch, if we ever came across one, this applied over that sealant, it sticks to almost anything, and you can pick some up. Again, it's easy to find on the road. Just go to any RV store, Camping World. They'll have, if not Eternabond, they'll have a similar product from Dycor or something. Just carry a little bit of it because you never know when something's going to happen and you're going to want to seal something up. And this is about the easiest way to do it if the silicone doesn't work. So that's what's in this bag, that's what's out, and this is what's going in now. That is basically what's in my RV. Is it a toolkit or is it multiple toolboxes? I don't know. Anyway, this is what I travel with in the RV. Got to remember to put that in the glove box. So I'll put links to some tools that I recommend or some that I have, whatever. I'll put some links in the article that goes on thefitrv.com that goes with this video. You'll find a link to that posting in the YouTube description, just down below the video. And yeah, that's it. I'll also take comments, answer questions over there. So what do you think? Is there anything I absolutely missed out on? I'm sure somebody has a favorite tool that I didn't bring. So let's hear it. What am I missing? What am I bringing that I'm never going to use? We'll see. Anyway, that's going to do it for now. This is James from FitRV. See you later. Bye.